Hi, I'm Jack Kaiser. I'm back again with Kelly Christianson, the Executive Director of Eau Claire Interfaith Hospitality Network. And we spent the last segment talking about Beacon House and some of the other programs the Interfaith Hospitality Network uses to combat homelessness in the Chippewa Valley. Kelly is back, and we're going to get into more specifics about the homeless problem, what it is, and what her agency is doing beyond just giving temporary shelter to people in need. Welcome back, Kelly.
Thank you.
What brings a family to need your services?
There's not really a simple answer to that question because every family is unique and their circumstance is unique, but there are some generalities that we can make. Many of our families have no education beyond high school. A lot of them don't even have a high school diploma, so their earning potential is not great. They're looking at service industry work, oftentimes minimum wage, oftentimes not full-time work because minimum wage jobs typically are not full-time. Couple that with maybe a relationship that ends. Maybe they're living in an apartment with another adult, in a relationship, and that relationship ends, and then neither one of them can afford the apartment on their own. And so they either break the lease or get evicted, or something to that effect. It could be a medical issue. Somebody no longer can work. Maybe they're waiting on Social Security disability to come into play and assist them. So just a lot of, various reasons. But the economics of it really seem to be the part that really are bringing people to the forefront.
In previous programs with other guests, we've learned about there's a lot of people in poverty, but there's even more people who are in the level called near poverty. Before we went on the air, you gave me an anecdote about a flat tire. Would you relate that?
Sure. I have a friend that got a flat tire. She worked in the sheriff's department, and she called me for a ride, and we got her to the tire place, and we got it taken care of. And she had a credit card where she was able to pay for that unexpected expense. And it was about 2 hours out of her day that was kind of just a little frustrating. But at the end of the 2 hours, she was all good to go, and now had a $300 credit card bill, but she has a job where she was able to pay it off, and it was a minor inconvenience. But for somebody that's living in poverty, they come out, they have a flat tire. Well, they may not have a friend with a car who can get them, to the tire place. They may not have $300 to pay for a tire. They may not even have $30 to pay for a used tire. And so then maybe they're not able to get to work for a couple of days until they get that taken care of. They may not have change in their pocket to even get on the bus to get there. So what becomes a minor inconvenience for somebody that's not living in poverty, for somebody living in poverty, it becomes a life-changing event. They may lose their job over a flat tire because they're not able to get to work. They don't have the opportunity to say, oh, I'll take a personal day or something like that so I can get this taken care of, because most service industry jobs don't have that kind of benefit for their workers. So oftentimes we, take for granted, we, middle-class America, takes for granted what the resource of money can do. It's not going to buy you happiness, but it makes life a little bit easier. And so when you have that ability, these kinds of things that happen throughout your day isn't the life-changing event that for somebody who's living in poverty, who doesn't have that excess money, that they're able to overcome quickly.
Do you have programs in place to get the people over that hump, if you will?
Well, I can tell you that when people leave our shelter, they're still a little bit tenuous, maybe even a lot tenuous, but we end homeless for them. I can't end poverty for people in 40 days, 30 days. I can't do that. Our programs can't do that. But we can end homelessness for people. And so we have case managers that work with families while they're in the shelter, help them find employment if they need it, help them increase their employment, their income, help them find housing, help them end that homeless situation. Then we have funding to help with security deposits, first month's rent, get them in their place. We can even help them pay their rent for a period of time. We require them to pay part of their income for that rent. So it's not like we're paying 100% of it all the time. Some new funding has come throughout that we might even be able to help pay rent for an extended period of time where somebody could go back to school and get maybe a certificate or something that would bump their income up a little bit so that they would be able to afford their housing and be in a much better place at the end of that program. So we have support programs in place. We have a case manager that works with families from anywhere from 0 months up towards to 12 months. And we have some rental assistance that we can help during some of that time as well. So it's not just about, bringing somebody into the shelter and then getting them into housing because they're still a little bit tenuous. So we want to continue to support them once they leave.
You don't want to have a revolving door in your...
No, we do not. We really want to end homelessness, and the greatest predictor of future homelessness is past homelessness. So all the kids that come into our shelter, and over half the people that come into our shelter are kids. Of those kids, over half of them are under the age of 6, and about 90% of our kids are under the age of 12. Just because they've been homeless once, they're at greater risk of becoming homeless again. And so we really want to break that cycle for them.
Where do people who don't, or where do they live and sleep before they come to your facility?
That's varied as well. Oftentimes they've bounced around from friend to friend, relative to relative, and they've just run out of people that they can stay with. And you can imagine that for these kids, if they're staying at somebody's house for, a cousin's house for 2 weeks and a friend's house for another 2 weeks, their education is, they're not even getting to school because they don't know where they're going to be sleeping, the next day or whatever. And so the families are just really trying to take care of basic needs. And so they're just jumping around from friend to friend, relative to relative. And by coming into the shelter, we're able to stop that. We're able to get the kids into school, get that stable, and the family can really focus on a long-term solution rather than just what is that short-term solution of where am I going to get my next meal, where am I going to sleep, where are my kids going to sleep.
I think that wraps up this segment. Would you be willing to have another segment to talk about the bigger issues in the community of what causes homelessness?
Absolutely, thank you.
Well, thank you, Kelly.